Welcome to the Farmish Kind of Life podcast, where we talk about homesteading stuff and life stuff and everything in between. Join me, Amy Dingman, as we explore big questions on a little farm. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Farmish Kind of Life podcast, where we talk about life and how to live a good one. Today is February 18th, 2025, and this is episode 308. What are we going to talk about today? Well, remember when you were younger and you found yourself dreaming about the day that you would finally be in charge of your own life? You wouldn't have anybody telling you what to do. You wouldn't have any rules. You'd have all this freedom. And then you grew up and you realized, oh, wait, now I'm the one who has to tell myself what to do. And you realize that's actually kind of hard. Today, we're going to talk about how you are in charge of where your life goes from here. So we're going to stop waiting around for someone to tell us what to do. We're going to stop waiting for motivation to strike. And we're going to go do the things that we say we want to do, because mom is not here to figure it out for you and make a plan for you and tell you what to do anymore. So that is today's topic. But before we get to that, what has been happening on the Lifestead? Well, oh my goodness, thank you all so much for the tea recommendations. In last week's podcast episode, I mentioned that I wasn't drinking as much coffee anymore, and I've kind of switched over to tea, and I asked for y'all to send me your tea recommendations. I got so many tea recommendations and links for where to find these teas. I'm working through this list of teas that you all sent me, and I'm going to order some and try them out. Tea is just, man, it's so amazing. So thank you for the recommendations, y'all. That was awesome. What else? We are having trouble in our little barn with rats. Again. Some of you know that last year, a stray showed up. She's kind of the neighborhood stray. We see her every couple of years. And she showed up last year, middle of July, beginning of July. And her name is Nessie. And she is the most incredible rat killer I've ever met in my life. I mean, most of the cats here, they're really good at mousing and taking care of rodents. But she was absolutely insane when it came to rats. Now, we have big rats here. Okay, big rats. And when rats are big, they get mean. And so a lot of people will say, oh, just get yourself a barn cat, then you won't have a rat problem. That's not true. Rats are mean. And when they get big, most cats are going to be like, I don't think I'm going to deal with that. I'm going to go over here and try to kill something smaller, less feisty. But Nessie was all about, I'm going to get the rats. And I'm not kidding. When she showed up here, she killed 20-some, 30-some rats in the first week she was here. She was just insane. I say all of that because I just said we have a rat problem, so why isn't Nessie going after them? Well, the problem is that when the rats were in the big barn, Nessie could get to where the rats were. Now that the rats are in the little barn, she doesn't have access to where the rats actually are. And I've been trying to figure out a way to give her access without causing issues with the chickens and the ducks and the rabbits. And I haven't figured out how to do it. So I'm back to trying traps. We have traps that work pretty well. They're tunnel traps. I think they're by You Catch, I believe is what the brand is. They work really, really well for a few days. And then the rats, because rats are super smart, you guys, that's what the problem is. Rats are really smart. So rats figure out the traps are there, and then they're like, yeah, I'm just going to bypass them. I'm not even going to go there. I went out into the barn last night to check the traps again. Went out. It was dark. I have this tiny little pen light. And so I went over to the coop, and I just flashed the little pen light in there to see if there were any rats in any of the traps that I needed to go in and get. And y'all, there were so many rats on the floor of the chicken coop. And I don't know what they're after because there's no food out and the water is frozen by this point in the night. So I don't know what it is that they're going after. There's no eggs in there because my chickens aren't really laying very well, probably because the rats are in there. So I'm just a little flabbergasted right now, but we will figure it out. I just wanted y'all to know. Rats happen. What else? It is cold. I'm going to be that Minnesota thing and talk about the weather again. It is super cold. Yesterday it was 40-some below. That was a wind chill. I think it was 20-something with air temp, but 45 below, I think. So it's been cold. It's cold again today. We are going to be up in the low 40s above this weekend. That's like an 80-degree temperature swing. Nobody's going to be wearing coats here in Minnesota this weekend. People are going to be wearing sandals. It's going to be insane. What do you do when there's an 80-degree temperature swing? That's crazy. So if you look ahead into the extended forecast, if you can believe the extended forecast, this looks like it's our last cold snap. I probably just ruined everything by speaking that out loud, right? I've probably changed the forecast just by speaking that out loud. But if you can believe the extended forecast, that means it's going to be time to tap the maple trees. So it looks like our highs during the day are going to be between the upper 30s and the lower 40s for quite a while here. But then dipping down below freezing, so below 32 at night. So that's the perfect time to tap the maple trees. The sap will be running, and this is the first year that I'm going to tap the trees. I got tapping stuff from my eldest for Christmas, and so we're going to go out and tap some of our maple trees. We also have a bunch of box elder trees here, which you can also tap, if you didn't know that. If you're tapping a maple tree, it takes about 40 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of maple syrup. Okay, so it's a process, y'all. It takes a lot. If you're going to tap a box elder tree, it takes about 60 gallons of sap to make a gallon of maple syrup. So if you didn't know that, now you know why maple syrup is so expensive. It takes a lot of sap to make a little bit of syrup. What else? Last week I was working with some audiobook files. I've published several nonfiction books, and I've always intended to get them done as audiobooks, but hadn't got most of them done. And I decided last week, you know what? It is time to get those done. So Make Friends with a Dog, 18 Tips to Live a Good Life, has now been recorded and has been submitted to Audible. And when they decide that it fits their whatever, they will let me know that it has been released. And then I will let you know. I'm almost done with Spit It Out. That's a book about how to have conversations. So I've almost got that one done. And I'm kind of doing all this recording as a brain break, I guess I'll call it, from the final edits of Peace, Love, and Bacon, which I am still working on. I have not forgot about it, but I had been staring at that book so much, I needed a little break. I am back to the final edits of Peace, Love, and Bacon this week, still hoping that that's going to be out. Oh, I wasn't going to tell you when it was coming out. Just it will be out before I start Seeds. So if you have been paying attention, you know when it is that I normally start Seeds. I might have even said that in last week's podcast. Did I? I don't remember. Should be out soon. All right, let's head over to the main topic and talk about this whole thing about how mom is not here to help figure things out for you and make a plan for you and tell you what to do anymore. So dang it, we got to figure this out ourselves. So there is a hard truth about being in charge of your own life, about growing up and becoming an adult and being like, oh, all right, well, I guess if something's going to happen, I gotta make it happen because ain't nobody here telling me what to do anymore. I mean, yes, we have bosses and we have all of that, but you get what I'm saying. There isn't a parent standing over you going, you need to clean your room or you can't do this anymore. That's what I'm talking about. And I was thinking about this the other day and thinking about how funny it is that in the prepping community, they will say things like, no one is coming to save you. Like that's their big thing, right? No one's coming to save you. It's all you. You got to have the food and you got to have the skills. You got to know how to splint a leg. You got to be able to find water in the middle of the woods. You got to be able to build a fire with willpower because if it all goes to hell, no one is coming to save you. And the crazy thing is that no one is coming sounds really cool when it's dramatic and it's talking about some big end of the world thing. But that insight and that message actually relates to everyday life more than we probably want to admit. Because what that can really mean in day-to-day life is that it's all you, baby. Nobody is standing over your shoulder making sure that you do what needs to be done. Nobody's peeking in on you to see if you're doing the work. If you don't take charge, nobody else is going to, right? It's all you. And y'all know when I have a topic on the podcast, it's usually because it's something I'm dealing with in my own life. So I have realized lately that I have spent way too much time in the I'm gonna phase of things. You know, I'm gonna make vanilla. I'm gonna make a rag rug. I'm gonna figure out why we suddenly have a rat problem again. I'm gonna. But the problem is I stay in the I'm gonna phase instead of actually doing the thing. And I'm sure this is hitting home for some of you, for all of you, because we all have those things that we're gonna do and we never move forward on them. So why is that? The other day I was having kind of a rough day, and I had this whole list of things I needed to do. I had a list of things I wanted to do, and I just wasn't feeling it. Just not feeling it, right? And I remember, I actually said out loud, I have no motivation today. Here in my house by myself, I have no motivation to get this done. And what immediately came to mind was my buddy Ken Esch on one of his podcasts, or actually I think it was a TikTok video that he had talked about the difference between motivation and discipline, and how not doing what you want to do has nothing to do with motivation, and it has everything to do with discipline. Because if you are waiting to be motivated to do something, you might wait forever. You're dependent on something that's just kind of like fly by the night. Motivation is not a consistent thing. Action comes first, and then motivation follows. So what you really need is the discipline to do the action, and then as you're doing the thing, you might get motivated to continue, which is totally backwards of how we normally talk about it. There are a lot of reasons that we get stuck, right? Sometimes we're overthinking. Sometimes we have decision fatigue. Sometimes we don't act because we're stuck in thinking about how to act or what we should do. Sometimes we get stuck in researching something to death instead of just starting and doing the thing. So there's lots of reasons that we get stuck, and you can mull those over. But today we're going to talk about how to get unstuck and actually start. And what you're going to find is this is not complicated. It's actually super simple, but we don't do it. This is not a complicated process. It's just something we have to constantly be reminded about because we don't do it. So how do we get unstuck? How do we actually start? Step 1, make the decision. I was listening to a podcast the other day, something about YouTube channels. It was just something that came on as I was letting, various podcasts play while I was doing stuff around the house. And in this podcast, the woman who was being interviewed said, you have to decide you're going to succeed and then arrange your time to make that happen. You have to decide you're going to do this, and then you have to figure out the steps to make it happen. So the first thing you have to do is decide you're going to succeed, decide you're going to win, decide what you're going to do, and then you got to figure out how you're going to do it. And sometimes I think we don't make that decision. We're just, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and whatever, but we're not really making a decision to do the thing. We're not making a decision to win at the thing or succeed at the thing. I think that is a really powerful step that we miss. Decide you're going to succeed. Decide you're going to do this, and then arrange your time or your life or whatever to make it happen. Step 2, we got to break it down. And I think sometimes this is where we get messed up, because big goals can feel super overwhelming. So what we need to do is shrink them down into little steps, real steps, tangible steps. We have to get away from overwhelm, because I think one of the biggest reasons we get stuck is that we look at the whole thing instead of just one step at a time. It's like we see this giant mountain in front of us and we think, well, that's impossible, instead of just focusing on taking the very next step on the trail. And sometimes looking at the whole thing is a good idea. Sometimes looking at the big picture is a good idea. But I feel like when we zoom in and we pinpoint one thing that's holding us back, that is often the key to getting unstuck in other areas too. Because I think when you can prove to yourself that you can take action in one area, suddenly there's like this energy that spills over into the rest of your life. And I think that's a little bit what motivation is. But I think there's another reason why this is important. I think sometimes untangling one area in your life, getting unstuck and untangling it, it can almost untangle other areas because stuff isn't so tightly knotted and wound up and you can breathe a little bit. So what does that look like? What does breaking it down look like? I'm going to make vanilla, right? I've been saying that forever. I'm going to make vanilla. I need to make my own vanilla. Again, it's been a really long time since I made my own vanilla. I'm going to make vanilla. So instead of saying, I'm going to make vanilla, here's what I need to do. Number 1, I need to order vanilla beans. Number 2, I need to buy vodka. Number 3, I need to pick out the jars or the containers that I'm going to put the vanilla and the vodka in so it can sit on the shelf and do its thing, right? I need to actually do the thing. You can use this with lots of different things. Let's say I'm going to clean the garage or any big space you have. Saying I'm going to clean the garage is really big. That's overwhelming, right? So what happens? We avoid it. We say, I'm going to clean the garage this weekend, and then suddenly it's Monday and the garage is still a disaster, and now you feel guilty and you're mad because you didn't get it done. So instead, break it down. What is one thing that you can do to start that project? Maybe you're going to go in there and decide, you know what? I'm going to throw away any actual garbage that's in here, any actual trash that's in here, anything that's collected in here that shouldn't be in here that needs to go in the garbage. I'm going to throw it away. That's what I'm going to do. The next thing, maybe I'm going to organize one shelf, or I'm going to organize one corner, or maybe I'm going to walk in there and I'm going to say, you know what, in order to do this bigger project, I need to add shelving. I want to put shelving up there, or I need to get a couple storage bins to put this, that, and the other thing in. What are you going to do? You're going to go to Amazon and you are going to order the shelving. Or you're going to go to Amazon and you're going to order the storage bins. And I have found this is something that's really helpful for me, because what I will do is I will say, oh, next time I'm in town, I should really look at some shelving, or next time I'm in town, I should, maybe look at some storage bins. What I have found is really helpful is I get my phone out and I go to the Amazon app and I one-click whatever it is that I need. And I know that maybe in some instances that's not super great to do, but for my productivity, it has really helped me to stop saying, I'm gonna. We have all these tools where we have all this stuff right at our fingertips. If that's going to help you be productive and get out of your slump of saying, I'm gonna, then use it. Okay? When you shrink a goal, you make it doable. So even if you only do step 1 today, you've started. And that's what matters. What's another thing that people say they're going to do? I'm going to call that family member. I'm going to call that friend. Maybe you keep saying, I need to call my dad. I need to call my grandma. I need to call my friend. But you don't. And the more you don't, the guiltier you feel. And that makes you avoid it even more. Has anybody done this? How many of you have a list of people that you were supposed to text back or call back? So instead, break it down. That person that you are supposed to call, text them right now and say, hey, when's a good time when we can catch up? And when they answer you, they're going to tell you, Tuesday would be good, or Friday would be good, or tonight at 7, we could have a conversation. Then set a reminder on your phone for the time they suggest. And when that reminder goes off, you're going to call them and then make the call. Even if it's just 5 minutes, just make the call. And maybe when you text them and say, I'd love to catch up with you, maybe they'll be like, well, we can talk right now. Then have that conversation, even if it's just 3 minutes. Because sometimes the block of I didn't text them or I didn't call them or whatever, it's not about the actual phone call itself. It's about the energy or the work that we associate with it. Because maybe we're like, oh, if I get on the phone with them, it's going to be forever. We're going to be talking for 45 minutes and I don't have 45 minutes. Or maybe we're like, oh, it's going to be this really emotionally draining call. I don't know who it is that you need to talk to. But you know what? Making a quick check-in call, even if it's 3 minutes, is better than avoiding it completely. And you're going to feel like you made progress on that item on your list. Here's another thing that a lot of people are saying. I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to get healthier. We made it through January. Y'all made it through your first 2 weeks in January where you were going to eat right and exercise. And that lasted about 2 weeks. And now we're more than halfway through February. And you're like, yep, I got to get in shape. I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to eat healthier. Saying that is overwhelming because your brain hears that and immediately shuts down, right? You're like, whatever. So instead, we're going to break that down. We're going to put it into bite-size little pieces. No pun intended. So if you need to get in shape, I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to be healthier. I'm going to pay more attention to my activity. I'm going to, whatever. Here's what you're going to do. Today, you're going to walk for 10 minutes. That's all. You're not going to go out and decide you need a gym membership. You're not going to overhaul your meal plan. You're just going to walk for 10 minutes or 5 minutes. Okay? Maybe you're going to drink 1 extra glass of water. Maybe when you go to the kitchen for a snack, you're going to swap that snack you wanted for something that's even slightly better. Okay? That's all. Because when you make it tiny, it feels possible. And when something feels possible, you're more likely to do it, right? That's true of me. I bet it's true of you. So, again, if you're feeling stuck in everything, pick one thing to break down and act on. Because proving to yourself that you can move forward in one area, even in a super tiny way, it will trigger momentum. Maybe we also call that motivation. And momentum is everything when it comes to getting unstuck. Here's another thing you can do. You can set a deadline. Even if it's fake, even if nobody else even knows about it, just a deadline. Give yourself a timeline. Because otherwise, I'm gonna turns into, I never did that. So, for example, if I don't make my vanilla by next weekend, I'm going to admit I never actually wanted to do it. Okay? Like, give yourself a deadline. Be honest. I had to do this with making a rag rug because I've been saying for a while, I'm going to make a rag rug. I really want to make a rag rug. And through the process of doing it, setting the little steps and then like getting further into it, during that process, I realized I really don't want to make a rag rug right now. I don't. So I'm going to stop saying that I'm going to make a rag rug because I don't want to make a rag rug. That's what I realized when I started making the rag rug. So you know what? Take it off the list. Stop saying I'm going to make a rag rug. Take it off the list so you can stop feeling guilty that you didn't do it. Another thing that's helpful is to build systems, not just try to rely on willpower. Because willpower will fade. It's kind of like motivation, right? Systems will keep you going. So if you want to call your family more often, set a reminder in your calendar, in your phone, and make it part of your routine. Make it a non-negotiable part of your routine. Set a reminder. That's a system, okay? If you want to work out, maybe put your shoes out the night before, put your gym bag by the door or whatever. Make it easier to do the thing than to not do it. And I think that's why there's a lot of things we're gonna do, but we don't, because we have made it easier to not do it than to do it. We need to switch that around. We need to make it easier to do the thing than not do it. So what are you stuck in? I do podcast topics because there's something that applies to my life. It's usually something I'm working through at the moment. So what are the things you're stuck in? So that's why we're talking about this today. But what are the things you are stuck in? What's your version of I'm gonna? Is it I'm gonna plan out the garden? Is it I'm gonna finish my book? Is it I'm gonna make that phone call? Is it I'm gonna clean out the pantry? What is it? Take 60 seconds right now and think of one thing that you have been stuck on. And there might be a bunch of things, but don't think of all the things. Just think of one. Think of one thing you've been stuck on. Now, what is the very next step? Not the whole thing, just the next step. What is the one thing you can do to move yourself forward on that thing? So, recap here. No one's coming to push you. Nobody's coming to tell you what to do. Nobody's coming to save you. You have to push yourself, okay? We're adults. We have to push ourselves. Ain't nobody else going to do it for us. It's all you, baby, right? Stop waiting for motivation. Motivation is fleeting. Willpower is fleeting. If you wait for that, you'll be waiting forever. This is all about discipline, okay? And that was a mind shift that I have to remind myself about. I was going to say, that's a mind shift that I've made, but it's not. It's a mind shift that I have to remind myself about constantly. Another reminder, don't look at the whole big picture. That's overwhelming. Break things down step by step. Set a deadline. Build systems that are going to help you follow through. So remember, you are in charge. You're in charge. You're the boss, right? You're not 8 anymore. You get to do the adult thing and you get to be in charge. You get to decide what your day and your week and your month and your life looks like. So stop waiting and go make it happen. Go make something happen. I would love to know, what is the thing that you have been stuck on? I want you to email me. I want you to find me on social media. If you're listening to this on YouTube, drop something in the comments. I want to know, what is one thing you have been stuck on? And then what is the very next step that you are going to take today to move forward on that? I would love it if you would let me know. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I always enjoy our time together. Have an awesome week. You guys stay warm, and I will talk to you again soon. Hope you enjoyed the show today. To continue the conversation, visit our website at afarmishkindoflife.com. Find A Farmish Kind of Life on social media or drop me an email at amy@afarmishkindoflife.com. Peace, love, and bacon, y'all. Stay farmish.